Hi, everyone. Wow, there's so many people here. Welcome, everyone. I'm very, very happy and excited to see all of you. Joe, you can stop screen sharing for a second so everyone can see the faces. Let's see. There we go. Let me spotlight my video so everyone can see me. Hi, everyone. I want to welcome you all to our next semester of Mittler Senior Technology. I'm seeing a bunch of faces that I do remember from previous semesters, and also we have a nice chunk of new students who are participating today. So I want to welcome everyone. This is, although people might be returning, this is the start of a new semester. So we're starting all fresh together. And here's how today's lesson is going to work. We're going to start by just outlining the basics of the class. What are the expectations? What are things that I think you should know? And then we'll actually get started with some material today. So Joe, let's go back to our presentation and let's open up the class together. Okay. So first of all, let me just give you a little bit of background on what this program is. So I started this about 5 years ago. We've been running, before COVID, in-person classes in KJ in the computer room where I taught, weekly lessons, and seniors would come actually inside the classroom. And it was a very cool experience. But obviously, due to the circumstances, we are now on Zoom. Which is not the ideal situation, but it is definitely in another option, and one that has been working very well. We've taught 2 classes so far on Zoom, and people have really been enjoying them. So that's how we're going to run this semester. I'm not sure at this point when we can go back to in-person classes. Not sure if it will be anytime soon, but that's definitely something that we hope will come about, because the experience definitely increases once you're in the classroom with us. So I first want to, before we start, introduce my team members who are going to work with me both in the teaching aspect and presenting the material to you, as well as kind of the behind the scenes work. And we have three members on my team. First of all, I'm not sure I said this. My name is Jordan Mittler. I am the director and founder of the program. You'll be seeing me on the Zoom a lot. You'll be getting messages from me a lot. So I'm also going to give you all of our email addresses at the end of the class, so that if you ever want to reach out to us, you have questions, you have concerns, you have something specific that you want to learn in the class, you could definitely reach out to us. All right, so first of all, we have Caroline Schwartz. Caroline handles all the social media platforms for our program, and you'll also see her teaching a few parts of the lesson. Caroline, you want to say hi?
Hi guys, I'm Caroline.
Great. And then next, we have Julia Fight, who helped me design all these lessons for you. She will also be teaching portions of the classes this semester. Julia, want to say hi?
Hi guys, I'm Julia.
And then finally, Joe Kaplan, who won't be doing so much presenting this semester, but he is running all the tech aspects, so the screen sharing, the breakout rooms, everything. He will definitely be in all the Zoom meetings, and he'll also be assisting me with the Q&A sessions, which I'm going to speak about if you do not know what that is yet. Joe, you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone.
Great. Okay, so before we actually get into the material, I want to first state our mission statement, which has been adjusted a few times, but this is something that I always like to start our class with. So Joe, if you can go to the next slide, I'm just going to read our mission statement. It is the responsibility of the younger generation to educate seniors about technology. The goal of our program is to cure social isolation within senior communities and to help seniors feel connected with our new world of technology. Our personalized classes strive to educate seniors on how to communicate with friends and family in the manner in which the world is accustomed to today, and how to use technological tools to enhance and simplify their daily lives. This is our goal, and we're hoping that over the course of the next 10 weeks, you learn enough to be able to introduce yourself to this amazing new world of technology. All right, Joe, let's go to the next slide. So here's a few kind of quick details that you should know about, which if you have taken a class with me, you probably know most of this already, but I have to make it a fair playing field. So first of all, this class is our main class. It takes place every Sunday at 11:30 a.m., obviously on Zoom. This class is 10 weeks. It will go on for 10 weeks. And we basically cover different topics every week that my team and I feel are specifically relevant now during the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the other program that we offer is a Q&A session. Now, first of all, let me just put it out there. These are all these classes are free. There is no expense. There is no cost to participate in any of these classes. This is totally free on your end. So besides from that Sunday class, we're going to have every Monday night, not Tuesday if you were here last semester, every Monday night, a Q&A session where you could join and ask our team any questions you have either on Sunday's class of that week or anything technology related. The reason why we do this is because, as you could see on Sunday's class, we have a lot of people and it's pretty hard to take everyone's questions. So if you do have questions, I recommend writing them down, coming to the Monday session, and that way we'll be able to answer all of your questions for you. So if you do have questions, this is a great opportunity. Definitely one of our team members will be there. It takes place on Monday nights from 7 to 7:30 p.m. You could join at any time and ask your questions. Now, please, the next thing is to please join the Zoom a few minutes early each week so we can get started on time. We have a lot of material to cover and it's only in 10 weeks. So if you start joining at 11:30, then we won't be able to start till 11:35. So I definitely recommend, if you do have the opportunity, to join the Zoom a few minutes early so you can get all settled and you know your audio is working, you know your video is working, you know your Zoom is working, so that we can get started at 11:30 on the dot. Now, a lot of people have been asking me about attendance in this class and whether it's okay to miss a class. Do you have to attend every single one of the 10 sessions? So here's how I'll put this. If you attend every single one, all 10 sessions, you will benefit much more because each class builds off of the previous class. If you have to miss one class, two class, three classes, that's totally fine. You are definitely welcome to do that. I'm sure you have other things going on, but to benefit from all the classes, I definitely recommend attending as many as you can. Now, the next thing is the new returning students topic, which is, like I said at the beginning, there are many of you here who have taken classes before. Some of you have even taken this class before, and some of you are completely new to this program. So the reason why I'm pointing this out is that in the breakout rooms, when you start to meet these people, please don't share with them any of our surprises and any of our fun lessons. I want them to experience it the same way you did your first time. So please don't share anything about the later classes if you are a returning student, so that the new students can learn from scratch from the beginning. Now, the next thing, which I did mention already, is that this is 10 classes. I have put together over the past few weeks a syllabus which has what's being covered at every lesson. So if you would like that, I could definitely send that to you so that you could see, lesson 3, I already know how to use FaceTime. I don't have to come to that lesson. I definitely recommend coming to every lesson, but if you would like the syllabus in advance, you could please let me know and I will send that to you. Now, the next thing is asking questions. First of all, the Q&A, that is the best time to ask your questions. I occasionally take questions during Sunday's class, during today's class, and we are going to show you actually later today how we would like you to ask your questions, which is a very special thing on Zoom on how you could raise your hand virtually. So I will definitely show that to you. For now, there shouldn't really be too many questions, but we will show you how to ask questions later on today. And of course, that Q&A is the best opportunity, is the best time to ask questions. Now, the next thing is mute, unmute. We're over here if you're following me on the list. You are all currently muted. I cannot hear what you're saying. So if you're talking to me, just stop talking because I cannot hear what you are saying. But there will be occasional times where we will unmute you if you have a question. If we are asking a question, we want you to answer it, and then you will be able to speak. But at this time, you could try to unmute yourself. You won't be able to. And the reason why is because Zoom occasionally has feedback issues and there's background noise. And we want to make this clear so that all the students could hear my team and I without getting the interruptions from other participants. So most of the time you will be kept muted. But once again, we'll explain the procedure for asking questions later today. Now, the next thing, we have 3 more things on this list, is breakout rooms. If you have taken a class with me, you know what a breakout room is. If you do not, you probably don't. But this is basically at the end of every class, we'll have a few minutes where you could do kind of a group work with 1 or 2 of the members in the class based on what we did in class that day. Later today, I'm going to explain more about that. I just want to point it out that that's usually how we end the class. Next, weekly optional homework. There's no way for me to enforce homework or collect sheets like I would do in a classroom. But at the end, I will always give you 2 or 3 things that you could do to practice what we did in class that day. The reason why I do this is so if you are able to do it, that means you mastered the topics and you know exactly what you're doing. If you do not, maybe come to the Q&A session and we can help you out even more. So I will always give you a few things that you could do every week to practice the topics that we discussed and to review everything that we're doing in the class. And finally, and probably the most important thing on this list, are class recordings. Every single one of our classes is recorded. You might be able to see at the top left of the screen, it might be saying recording with a blinking red dot all the way at the top left of the screen. What that means is that the class is currently recording. We will post this recording at the end of every class so that you have access to it. And if you want to rewatch a piece of the class, or if you missed a piece, you definitely have the ability to do that. So once again, everything on this list are basically the basics to the class, the expectations of you, how we're going to be running the class. We're definitely going to be talking and reinforcing these later on. All right, Joe, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so how are we going to be sending you information about the class? How are we going to be sending you those recording links? How are we going to be sending you all that information? Our class contact method is a program called WhatsApp. And this is very similar to messages. It allows you to send messages to multiple people at a time. If you have WhatsApp and you are in our WhatsApp group, then you're perfectly fine. There's nothing else you have to do. If you have WhatsApp but you are not in our group, there is a link that you have to type in to join it. And I will send that information to you. You could even come to the Q&A session on Monday and we could help you with that. Because this Monday, October 19, which is tomorrow, I am dedicating the Q&A session to WhatsApp questions so that if you are not in our WhatsApp chat or you want and you want to be, which you really should be, then you could take advantage of that opportunity. So anyone in this Zoom that does not know what WhatsApp is not in our WhatsApp group, does not know how to use WhatsApp, if you are in any of those categories, you should be attending the session tomorrow so that we could show you how to join that so that you could receive messages and notifications from my team and I. I also want to point out that lesson 3 of Sunday's classes is actually a WhatsApp tutorial. So we'll show you more about the cool things you could do on WhatsApp, but the basics, just like joining the group chat, we'll be able to answer that on Monday. Now, if you are very against WhatsApp and you love your email account, you could send me an email. I'm going to give you my email address in a second, and I will put you on our email list so that you receive all the messages via email instead of WhatsApp. I prefer that everyone's on the WhatsApp chat because it's easier for me. But if you do like your email, I do have about 20 people who are on the email list. I could just add you to that list so that you receive all the messages via email instead of WhatsApp. Okay. All right. So the Zoom information is the same for all our classes, for all the Q&A sessions, for anything that you have involved with Mittler Senior Technology will be the same link. I have it on the board here, and I'll be sending it multiple times throughout the class. I made the link pretty clear. It's mittlersenior.technology/Zoom. That's the link you need. That's the link that takes you into the class. The alternative to typing that link in is using the meeting ID, which is 838-464-615. We're going to explain the difference between a link and a meeting ID in a second. But that's the only information you need to join the Zoom. Now, you all joined the Zoom very nicely today, so I'm assuming you knew either the link or the meeting ID. You used one of them to get into the Zoom today, but we will explain what's the difference between the two. And then below that, I put the 4 of us and our email addresses. So as you can see that there's a pattern there. It's our first name at mittlerseniortech.com. So my email is Jordan, Jordan, at mittlerseniortech.com. There's 2 T's in Mittler. And Julia, Caroline, and Joe have the same email address with their first name followed by at mittlerseniortech.com. So I see a few people are writing this information down. So I will wait 1 second before moving on, and then we will continue into the actual material. So Joe, if you just keep this on the screen for a second until everyone who wants to write this down has this information. Okay. I'm hoping that everyone wrote this down who wanted to. We will be sending this to you anyway over WhatsApp and email, so you will have this information even if you don't write it down. All right, Joe, let's go to the next slide. So here's what's going to be happening today. Here's today's lesson. We're going to start by going over some important things that you should know on Zoom. Besides from just typing in a meeting ID and joining the link, there's a lot more that goes into it. And the next thing is a program called Facetime, which is similar to Zoom on your smartphones. And then we will wrap up with a breakout room session, a very quick one to show you how those breakout rooms are used. All right, Joe, let's go to the next slide. So we're going to start today with Zoom. Zoom's basically our first topic. I thought it was an appropriate first topic because you're all on Zoom, and there are a few things that you should know both in our Sunday classes as well as other Zooms that you might be participating in during this time. Zoom's become obviously very popular, and people are using it for so many different purposes. All right, Joe, you can go to the next slide. So Zoom is free. There's no expense for Zoom. There is a premium subscription. But that's not something that you would ever have to pay for. You could totally work with that free platform. And it allows you to video chat with large groups of people on your computer or mobile device. You could Zoom. I see many of you are Zooming from your computer. I see some of you are Zooming from your phones. You could Zoom from any device. It really doesn't matter. For this class, I would recommend the biggest screen possible so that you could read the text on the screen so that you could see us talking. But a phone definitely works as well if you could see us clearly. Now, the big difference between Zoom and other video services is the number of participants possible. We right now have 42 people on this Zoom. That would not be possible on a program like FaceTime or a program like WhatsApp video chat. So if you want to have a group with multiple people, Zoom is definitely the tool to use. Now, businesses, schools, and other organizations have been using Zoom to conduct meetings, hold classes, and host virtual events. Zoom, besides from just allowing you to talk with someone, also has a bunch of educational tools, which you're going to see. First of all, you are looking at a computer screen right now. How are you able to do that? We're screen sharing our computer screen. That's something educational with teachers can put up their slides, their important presentations, and students can actually see them. So that's only one of the many things that Zoom can do for educational things, and we'll actually show you some more today. Now, the last thing is that participants don't need a Zoom account or even the Zoom app to join a meeting. While this makes Zoom more friendly, skipping those steps will limit what you can do. So I'm assuming many of you didn't get a Zoom account, but you just joined our Zoom meeting typically, and that's totally fine for this class. That's all you really need. But basically, this allows anyone to participate in a Zoom meeting instead of just people who have a Zoom account. Like, for example, I have a Zoom account so that I could run classes every week, but this is not something that you actually need to do. Just like you join the Zoom meeting today will be the same way you will join the Zoom meeting every week. All right, Joe, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so we're now going to show you the two ways to join a Zoom meeting. The first one is using a meeting ID, and the second one is using a link. And I'm going to pass it over to Caroline to show you how to do this.
Okay, so first on the right side of your screen, you'll see how to join a meeting from your phone. And on the left side, you'll see how to join a meeting from your computer. So you can join a meeting in two ways. You either press the join button, okay, and that'll take you to a section. The join button is the blue button with the little plus sign. Okay, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so like Jordan was saying before, there are two ways to join a meeting. You could either use the meeting ID or you could use the link that Jordan provided, which is mittlersenior.technology/Zoom. So this number is the meeting ID. You'll be provided with that, and what you do is you type it into this meeting ID or personal link name, and press join the meeting, the big blue button, and that'll take you directly to the meeting. This is the same way for the phone. You just type in the meeting ID and it'll take you directly to the meeting. But using the link is probably a much more sufficient manner. Okay, you could go to the next slide. Okay, so we will also provide you with a meeting password. When using the meeting ID, you'll probably need a password to get into the meeting. And then you have two options to either join with a video or without a video. So we could see your face, or either if you don't want to show your face, we don't need to. And then once you get this button, please wait, the meeting host will let you in soon. There's nothing more you can do. That way we'll just know to let you into the meeting, and then you'll be in here and we could see you. And this way, that was all for a meeting ID. This is how you use a meeting link. The link is probably a much easier way to use because if you just click on the link, it takes you directly to the meeting. There's nothing you need to type in. There's no password you need to use. It's just the link. So if you have the link provided for you, I'd recommend to use that for you. But if you're trying to join on a different device and you need to look at something else, then the meeting ID you could use. Okay.
Okay, so before I pass it over to Julia to go through this slide, just to reinforce what Caroline said, you could join either using a meeting ID or a link. You should always just click on the link if you're on the device that you want to join. So if you're on your computer, just click on the link, and if that's what you want to be. If you're on your phone and you're trying to join on your computer, that's what the meeting ID is for. It's much easier to type in a 9-digit number than a 50-word long link. So definitely use both of them depending on where you're trying to join. And also this Zoom meeting specifically, I disabled the password. That's not something you'll ever have to type in, just to make it easier for you. There's no password for this Zoom meeting. Some Zoom meetings, it will ask you for a password, and that's something that the host has to supply you with. You won't know the password. They have to supply that to you. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at, if you look at the bottom of your screen, if you're on a computer, you'll see all these buttons: mute, stop video, participants. You'll see all these buttons at the bottom of the screen. If you're on a phone and you click in the center of the screen, you will also see all these buttons around the border of the screen at the bottom and at the top. We will explain what a few of these buttons are and which ones we think would be important for you to know about. So Julia, you could start with this.
Hi guys. Okay, so I'm gonna go through these functions on the bottom of your screen so that you know how to use them and how to unmute yourself, how to participate in the Zoom. So the first one all the way on the left is that mute button. So right now, all of you should see your mute button. It should be red and have a little line through it. That means that you are right now muted. If you click on that mute button and we give you permission to unmute, then that mute button would turn white, the line would disappear, and that would mean that we're able to hear you. So right now, I'm not muted, so my mute microphone is not red and does not have that strike through going across, that line across it. But yours does right now because you're all muted, which means that we can't hear anything you're saying. And the reason that you guys are all muted throughout this class is so that we prevent feedback issues and so that it's easier for you guys to hear what we're talking about. So then next to that mute button, you can see is a sort of camera. It says stop video underneath. So if your video is on right now, it should be white, and that means that we can see you. But if that picture is red, and it has the line through it, that means that we can't see you. That means that your video is turned off. So if you want to turn your video on and it's off right now, all you need to do is click on that camera, which is going to be right now red. And when you click on it, it's going to turn white and we're going to be able to see you. Okay, then towards the center of the screen, you're going to see this participants. There's a sort of symbol of two people, and also next to it is a number, which is the amount of participants in the Zoom right now. So if you look at the participants on your screen, you'll see a number 43, which means that we have 43 participants in this Zoom right now. 43 people are logged onto this Zoom. And if you click on that participants button, you can see a list of all of the people in the Zoom. So in this example that we have on the screen, there were only 2 participants, Joe and Jordan. So that's why there's the number 2 in parentheses, and that's why there's only 2 names. But if you clicked on the participants button on your screen right now, you would see a list of 43 names, and you could scroll through to see who's on the Zoom, and you could see all of those names. Okay, then next to the participants button is the chat button. That looks like a little message button on the bottom of your screen. And that's in white. And underneath it, it says chat. If you click on that button, you are able to chat with either an individual person in the meeting or with everyone in the meeting. So if Joe goes to the next screen, you could see you have 2 options when you're in the chat. You can either chat with everyone. So you see that blue button, to everyone, which means that you're sending a message to the entire group. If you text something in the type message here and it says to everyone, everyone in this Zoom meeting will be receiving your message. But if you only want to send a message to Jordan, or you only want to send one to us, you want to ask a specific question, or you have something that's like personal, you don't want to send it to the entire meeting, you just want to send it to one person. So you would click on that arrow, or you would click on that button that says everyone, and you could scroll through the list and you can send it to whoever you want to. So you could just see that Eileen sent a message to everyone in this group right now. But if you want to send a message to one individual person, you're going to click on that everyone button, and you're going to scroll through and select that one person that you want to send a message to. So for a little test, you guys should all click on that chat button and send Jordan a message telling him your name, your phone number, your email address, and where you heard about the class. So as a reminder, you don't want to send this message to everyone. You just want to send this message to Jordan. So you're going to click on that everyone button, which is the default setting, and you're going to scroll to Jordan's name. You're going to click on his name, and then you're going to send the message. Okay, the next thing does not really apply to you on the bottom of the screen.
Julia,
Yeah.
let's just give them a second to send that message. We'll give you guys a minute or so. If you are on a phone, the chat button isn't exactly where that is. You just have to click in the center of the screen, and you should see like the chat button, maybe not exactly at the bottom in the center, but you should see it at the bottom of the screen. And one of those, there should be 5 buttons, and one of them will say chat. So it's the same way. You click on everyone, you could switch it. This is more just to give you practice. Inside the chat, everyone should send some sort of message. I just gave you a few things to do, like your name and your phone number, your email address. But you could do any of those. So click on the chat button and type in any sort of message privately to me, not to everyone. So you click on my name and send some sort of message to me, so I see that you know how to send a chat message. We'll give you a few minutes to actually do that, and then we will move forward. Joe, you can go back. There you go. I'm getting all these messages. We'll give you about 30 more seconds, and then we will continue. Okay, so Julia is going to continue. You could still send your message as we're talking, but you should try at some point during this class to send a private chat message with just your name and your phone number and where you heard about the class, so that you can, we know your phone number and some more information about you. So Julia is going to continue, and please make sure you try and do that before the class is over today. All right, go ahead, Julia.
Okay, so the next button on the bottom of your screen to the right of the chat is going to say share screen. And that is what Jordan is doing right now. Because you can all see these slides, that means that Jordan is sharing his screen, and that's why we can see all of the content that we're learning. So this does not really pertain to you guys. You guys are never going to be sharing a screen. But if you wanted to start your own Zoom meeting and share a screen, you would click on that green button, and then you would be able to share whatever screen that you wanted. So right now, Jordan is sharing his screen. So that's how we can see this slide. Okay, next to the share screen button is the record button. This button also does not really apply to you guys. So right now, Jordan is recording the meeting, so you guys don't need to worry about this. But if you started your own Zoom meeting that you wanted to record, you would click on this record button. So right now the meeting is being recorded. So you can see that in the top left corner of your screen where it says recording with a red dot. So that means that this meeting is being recorded, but you guys don't need to worry about recording the meeting. And then right next to that record button is the reactions. So if you guys want to react to something Jordan says, you're not necessarily able to unmute yourself during the class, you can click on that reactions button. And as you can see below are a bunch of different icons, or they're called emojis, that you can click on. And those would pop up on the corner of your screen and would show the reaction. So right now I can do a thumbs up. And as you can see in the corner of my screen, when I press that reaction, everyone can see that thumbs up on my picture. Okay, and then okay, so yeah, if you guys want to try adding a reaction right now, you guys can do that. So you would click on the reactions button, choose whichever one that you want, and that emoji would pop up in the corner of your screen. Okay, and then the final thing is all the way on the right corner is the leave button that's in red. And if you click on that meeting, you will leave. So first it will give you a sort of reminder, are you sure you want to leave the meeting? And you would need to press leave again. And once you press the leave button, you're going to exit the meeting. And if you want to rejoin, I guess you can do that. But if not, then the meeting's over and you're done with Zoom. So
Okay. Great. Thank you, Julia. Joe, can you just go back to for a second to that slide? Let me just quickly go through these again because a few people are asking. We have mute and stop video to control your audio and your video. I recommend keeping your video on during this class. It makes it much more interactive, like you're seeing my face right now. If my video was off like this, it's not so interesting to listen to me talk, but when you see my face, it's much more interesting. So if you can, definitely keep your video on. Next is participants, which allows you to see all the people in the meeting, see who's muted, whose video is on. Not something that I think is too useful. The chat is definitely useful and a tool you could use to message myself or any member of the team privately, or just a message to everyone. Share screen is used so that you could share your screen, not something you have to worry about. Record is not something you have to worry about. Reactions is to put up these cool emojis, and leave is to actually leave the meeting. So these are a few of the main controls on Zoom, ones that you could be beneficial to you and ones that you should keep in mind as you're participating in a Zoom meeting. So the next time, if I ask, is everyone doing okay right now? You could just click on reactions and put a thumbs up. So that I see that you're able to use the reactions tool. Okay, Joe, let's go to slide 16. Great. We are now going to go to the other part of Zoom, which is not joining a meeting, but hosting your own meeting. And I'm only going to spend a few minutes on this because I don't think many of you will be using this. The reason why I'm showing this to you is because if you have a family gathering or some sort of family program and you want to start a Zoom meeting, you should know how to do it. And it's very, very simple. Instead of clicking on join, which is that button you clicked on like Caroline showed you to join a meeting, just click on that orange button that says new meeting. That's the only difference. Instead of clicking on join, the blue button to join someone else's meeting, click on that big orange button that says new meeting so you could join the meeting of somebody else. Now, once you open up new meeting, you'll be the only one there because you just created a new meeting. You just created it. And when you are in that meeting, you will see at the top left of the screen, like a little eye with a circle in it. And if you click on that, you'll be able to see the information for the class, such as the meeting ID, the link, the host of the meeting, which should be you if you started the meeting, and all the information necessary for somebody to join the meeting. So by clicking on that I at the top left, which you can't see right now because you're not the host, but when you are the host of the meeting, at the top left, you'll see that little icon, which you can click on in order to have that information. You can then send that information out to your friends or your family or anyone who you think would who you would like to join the Zoom meeting. You could send them the meeting ID, send them the link, send them both, whatever you would like. And this way they could join the meeting the same way you joined the meeting today. Now, the only difference with the in-meeting controls is that instead of it saying leave at the bottom left, it will say end meeting. Because you are the host, you have the ability to end the whole meeting. And then that would be the only difference of the in-meeting controls, meaning once you're having the Zoom meeting, you won't see leave at the bottom right, you'll see end meeting, because by you leaving, you're the host. When you leave, the meeting's over. So if I leave right now, the whole meeting will be over because I'm the host. But right now for you, it says leave. So that's the only kind of in-meeting difference between joining a meeting and hosting a meeting. So once again, if you want to have some sort of family gathering or something that you want to be in control of, and you want to host your own meeting, instead of clicking on the blue join button, click on that orange button that says new meeting, and then share with the members of the meeting ID and the link that you could find by clicking on the I at the top left of the screen, and then send that to the participants so that they could join the meeting. Okay, Joe, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so many of you have been asking well, you haven't really been asking this, but if you want to ask a question, how do you do that? So the first way you could do it is by typing any question into the chat, messaging us privately, which you should now all know how to do. The other alternative is raising your hand virtually. Now, if someone sits on Zoom, I'm not sure if you can see me, and does this or puts their hand up physically, I only see a few of you right now. I do not see the 45 people in the Zoom right now. I only see maybe 3 or 4. So if you have your hand up and I don't call on you, it's not because I'm ignoring you, it's because I don't see you. So definitely don't sit in the Zoom meeting with your hand up. Your hand will get tired and there's really no point of doing that. Here's how you should ask a question. You could raise your hand virtually so that on my screen, it says, Julia Fight has a question. And then I see, Julia has a question. Let me unmute her. So here's how you're going to do this. I'm going to first explain on the computer, then on the phone. It's a very similar process. On the computer, everyone should follow along with me because I'm going to ask you to do this. This is for the people on the computer. You want to click on participants at the bottom of the screen. There's only 2 steps for raising your hand. Step 1, click on participants at the bottom of the screen. This is only for people who have a computer. If you have an iPad or you have a phone, I'm going to explain that in a second. But if you have a computer, click on participants at the bottom of the screen. Then you will see raise hand at the bottom of the screen. Have see a little blue hand that says raise hand at the bottom left of the screen. And just by clicking on that button, you have now raised your hand. So I would like everyone to put their hand up, and I'm seeing up. I hope that doesn't mean that everyone in the Zoom meeting has questions, but I now all see that your hands are all up. Very, very nice. And the same way, once you have finished asking your question, click on the same button and your hands will go down. You will lower your hands so I know that you no longer have a question. So once again, if you do have any questions, I now know that Bernice, Francisco, Michael, Renee, Helene, Ruth, Marilyn, I know that all these people have questions because their names came up on my screen. So you can see that that's a much easier way for me to see if you have a question than you physically manually raising your hand. So you could all put your virtual hands down by clicking on the same button. This is just a tool I wanted to introduce to you so you know how to use it. Now, if you're on a phone or an iPad, it's the same procedure, a little bit different. You click on participants at the bottom of the screen. And then once you click on participants, then all you have to do is click on raise hand. So on your phone, it basically eliminates a step. You just click on participants and then you click on raise hand. It is at the bottom right of the screen. And you just click on it and your hand will go up the same way. I'm seeing everyone's putting their hand up, which hopefully means that you all know what you're doing. Now, once again, if you do have questions on this, we have a very nice Q&A session on Monday where we can answer all of your questions, but I'm seeing many of you are doing it. So I'm going to take the guess that many of you know what you're doing. Okay, let's go to the next slide, Joe. Okay, Joe, we are going to bypass this so you can keep going. Let's just go to the next. Great, stay right there. Okay, you all should now know how to raise your hand. I see a few of you still have your hand up, so please put that hand down by clicking on the same button that you did, and it will lower your hand, so we know you no longer have a question. Okay, so now Julia is going to explain to you the difference between speaker view and gallery view. Joe, you could actually go out of this screen share so they could play around with that, because once you're in a screen share, you can't. But Julia will explain to you what the difference is between those two and how you could change from one to another.
Okay, so on the top right corner of your computer screen, you should see a button that says View with a bunch of different dots with squares next to it. And when you click on that button, you can adjust the different views of your Zoom. So there's two different options. The first one is called Speaker View, and then the second is called Gallery View. So Speaker View means that you're going to be able to see the person who is speaking. So right now I'm the one who's speaking. So if you click on Speaker View, then you should see my video. And that means that when you click on Speaker View, my name is going to have that green box around it. And that means that I'm the one speaking and I should be enlarged on your computer. So this is helpful if you want to see specifically the person who's speaking, if they want to hold up something, they want to show you a piece of paper or something, and you want them enlarged on your screen. The second option is called Gallery View. So when you click on Gallery View, instead of seeing one person enlarged, the speaker enlarged, and then maybe a few other people, instead you're going to see almost everyone in the Zoom meeting, the first 25 people in the Zoom meeting, because only 25 people can fit on a screen at once, and each of them will have their own little box. So instead of seeing one person, the speaker enlarged, by clicking on Gallery View on the top right corner, you'll be able to see a lot of people who are in the Zoom meeting. So those are the two options. You can either click on Speaker View and see the person who's speaking enlarge on your computer, or you can click on Gallery View and see 25 people on your screen, all smaller, so you can see more people at a time.
Okay, great. So the one thing about Speaker View is that even if I'm the one who's speaking, if someone else is unmuted and they make a little noise or something, they might become very big because Zoom might pick it up as they're the one who's talking. So when you're on Speaker View, you have to be careful because it might switch from camera to camera depending on who makes little noises. That's one of the other reasons why we keep everyone muted. I always keep it on Gallery View because I like to see as many people as I can at one time. This is really up to preference, but most of the time you'll be looking at Joe's computer screen, which has the slides, so this won't really be so relevant. But if you do want to switch your view from gallery to speaker view, you could do that. All right, Joe, let's go back to the presentation. And we basically covered everything we wanted to in the Zoom category. There are many, many more things you could do on Zoom. But we covered the things that we think are relevant to you. We covered the things that will be relevant during this class, such as unmuting and muting yourself, raising your hand virtually, switching from gallery view to speaker view, and a few other things. If you have any questions on Zoom, please feel free to come to our Monday Q&A session. You will be able to ask all your questions. I hope you have been writing them down if you do have any or any clarification questions. But many of you typed your message into the chat. Many of you raised your hand, so I'm assuming that many of you understood that topic. If you do have further questions, you can come to our Q&A session. So for our last few minutes, we are going to spend the last chunk of the class talking about FaceTime. The reason why we're going to talk about FaceTime is because it's a program that's very similar to Zoom. It has the same kind of purpose, but it is used a little bit differently. So FaceTime is an application similar to Zoom that allows people to connect with friends and family on their smartphones in an incredible way. So although I did put smartphones here, FaceTime is accessible on any Apple devices. So any type of Apple devices, people tend to use it on their smartphone, on their smartphones the most, but you could use any device for a program like FaceTime. And Joe, you could screen share your phone. We are now going to show you kind of a few things that you could do on FaceTime, like making a FaceTime call, how you could use FaceTime. A few of you have been putting into the chat right now, what's the difference between FaceTime and Zoom? So I'll give you 2 or 3. Number 1, FaceTime is much less people. FaceTime's for maybe 4 maximum if you want to use it to its fullest capacity. Zoom, as you can see, has so many more people, and it's much easier for that. FaceTime is much more casual. I mean, it's more like a phone call. Joe, you could screen share your phone as I'm talking. FaceTime is much more casual. Zoom's more official. Zoom's like an educational tool. It's more official. It's more kind of organized. And that's what that is. And then finally, Zoom can be used on any device. While FaceTime is specific to Apple phones, the person you are calling also needs to have an Apple phone. So both of you need to have Apple phones, versus Zoom could be on any device, whether it's a Samsung, a mobile device, computer, smartphone, tablet, any of those are fine. Okay, so we're going to show you quickly just 1 or 2 things on FaceTime so that you could see how we actually use the program. Joe's going to open it up. So Aileen mentioned a good point. We're going to show you how to add multiple people to a FaceTime. You can have many people, but I recommend if you are at a point when you have 30, 40, even 10 or 20, Zoom is definitely the better tool to use, because FaceTime, if you're on your little phone, you're trying to talk to 10, 15 people, everyone's talking on top of each other. It is a little challenging. So FaceTime, I definitely recommend as more of a casual tool to use for more like a phone call or a personal call, or maybe a group of friends, 2 or 3. But once you get to above 4, I would say that then you should switch over to a more advanced program like Zoom, or even, I'm not sure if you've heard of these, but Skype or WhatsApp, some of these other programs. FaceTime is specific for a smaller group of people, and it is a more casual way. You can't share your screen. You can't do all this that you could do on Zoom. Okay, so Caroline is now going to show you a few things, including how to access Zoom, how to access FaceTime, sorry, and how to make a FaceTime call. Okay, Caroline, go ahead.
Okay, hi guys. So there are 3 ways that you could make a FaceTime call. The first way is if you go to the FaceTime app, which is this green button with the little video camera in it. If you click on that button, then you could either press one of your recent FaceTimes that you've made, and it'll just take you directly to that person where you can FaceTime them. So these are Joe's recent FaceTimes. Or you can press the little plus sign in the top right corner, which will allow you to type in a person's name that you want to FaceTime, and you can FaceTime them. So if Joe clicks on that button, then he can type in, let's say, Jordan Mittler, and he can press video, and that'll take them to FaceTime each other. So that's the first way to make a FaceTime call. Oh, and Jordan can accept, I guess, if he wants. Okay, Jordan declined.
Oh, you want me to answer it? You want me to answer it?
Yeah, that would be helpful, I guess. Okay, so this was the first way to make a FaceTime call. And yeah, so now Joe and Jordan are on FaceTime. And there are a few things you can do while on FaceTime. So if Joe presses on the FaceTime, you see that there's also a mute button, like on Zoom. There's a flip camera, and there's an end call. So to mute on FaceTime, you just click on the button. So Joe can click on the button, and it'll appear in bright white, and that means you're muted. So you know that Jordan cannot hear you now. Then if you press on that button again, it'll go back into the gray form, and then you're unmuted. So unlike Zoom, where a red line goes through it, FaceTime is more just bright white if you're muted, and then gray if you're unmuted. So then you can also flip the camera on FaceTime, which just shows a different, what you're looking at. So you could show the people what you're looking at. Yeah. And then there's also an effects button on FaceTime, which is we didn't do this on Zoom, but you could just choose cool things to put on yourself. I guess, which isn't really important. And then the last thing is the end call button. So it's just a bright like red X, and that's how you end the FaceTime call. So if Joe ends that call, then him and Jordan just ended the FaceTime. Then there are two other ways that you can access FaceTime. So if Joe's goes to messages, then he could press on Jordan's name and 3 dots will come up, 3 like bubbles. The first one is audio, FaceTime, and info. So either you could press on FaceTime and that'll directly take them to FaceTime each other, or you can press on info. And again, you could just press the blue button. If you scroll back up, the blue button of the video camera, and that'll take them to FaceTime each other. The last way that you can make a FaceTime call is if you go to the Contacts app, which Joe will take you to. It's this gray, show them what it looks like. It's this gray contact with the like person sitting in it. And if you click on that button, and again, you type in the person you want to FaceTime, Jordan Mittler. So you would click on their name and just press FaceTime, which it says right here. Okay, I think that's it. Oh.
No, Caroline, I just would,
Okay.
That's fine. I know there were a few things that you covered there. There are 3 ways, but the most common way and the way that you should use is just click on FaceTime. Don't worry about going to contacts, messages. Those are kind of other ways, but if you want to join FaceTime, just look for this icon, this green icon with the white video camera, click on it, and you should be able to join a FaceTime call with anyone. Flipping the camera, that button at the bottom is sometimes important if you want to show someone something. Instead of holding up the phone kind of backwards, by flipping the camera, you're switching it from the front end camera to the rear end camera. So you could show the person that you're speaking to a sheet of paper, or maybe a article of clothing that you just bought, or something that you want to show them, maybe something that you just baked in the oven, I don't know. But by flipping the camera, you could show someone something as opposed to them just looking at you directly. Now, Caroline also mentioned effects, which is kind of a fun thing that kids are doing nowadays. They're putting like animals on their faces and stuff. We didn't really show that to you because I don't think that would be beneficial to you. But you could definitely play around with that if you would like to. Okay. So Joe, you can now play the video.